Well, howdy YouTube family. It's Bold CRNA coming to you again with another day's topic. Today we're getting into a question and answer session. You guys hit me up on Instagram with a bunch of different assortment of personal and professional questions, and I'm going to spill the beans on it today, so let's get into it. Alright, I'm going to keep these anonymous like I told you I would, because I don't know, some of these may be more personal. I haven't looked through all of them yet, so let's see. First question is, as a CRNA, are you happy with your work life? Is there something you want to change? Yeah, I mean, the simple answer is yes, I am happy with my work-life balance. I think something a lot of people do is they idolize the role that they're going to be in once they graduate and once they finally reach their educational goal, and they kind of have this in their mind that they'll reach utopia and everything will be perfect then, and every day will be like sunshine and rainbows if they finally just get to that point. And then you get to that point and it is great and you do enjoy your career, but you realize that it is a career just like all others that has ups and downs. It has good days and bad days. It has aspects to it that you enjoy and aspects to it that you don't enjoy. Overall, I very much wholly enjoy what I do, and I wouldn't be anything else. But yeah, there are aspects of things that I would change, and one of the things that I guess would be the easiest thing to tell you I would change is that there is a lot of politics involved in anesthesia between CRNAs and physician anesthesiologists, and there's some times that they don't get along, and there's lots of political infighting. So it just occasionally will make things unpleasant when it doesn't have to be. And it's not typically in the workplace. You won't really see it much between actual people, but you'll just see it online or through legislation that's being proposed that would maybe restrict CRNAs or discredit CRNAs for political reasons. What volunteer or community involvement did you do prior to applying to CRNA school? So this is important because when you're getting your application ready for CRNA school, you want to stand out from the pack. You want to have something in your resume that makes you look interesting. And what I did is I volunteered at a local clinic in the area as a triage nurse for people who were poor and couldn't afford primary care providers. So it was pretty much a free primary care provider. It had a couple nurse practitioners and one physician that would take turns every week seeing patients in the clinic for free pretty much. And I was one of the nurses who would triage patients and pretty much just take care of things around the clinic. So I would do that, and I feel like that showed that I was involved in my community and that I was more interested in helping people than just the idea of making a lot of money or whatever it is that you're looking for in the CRNA field. I think it kind of shows that I'm more about the humans and the human interest aspect of things, and that's important for CRNA school admissions, that they understand that you're not in this for the wrong reasons. How do you negotiate salary? Well, this one is a little harder to do. This, as a new grad, it can be a little tricky because you don't have any experience yet, so it's hard to negotiate too much. But really, you should be looking around at the job offers near the area that you're applying. Like, say, if you're applying in the Bay Area, the base starting salaries are going to be different from somewhere in West Texas, maybe, because the cost of living is very different in those two places. So you should be looking at the salaries around the job posting that you're looking at and seeing if they're matching up with that kind of salary. If they're not, if it's much lower than market standard, then you should be negotiating for higher. How you negotiate for higher is you simply let them know that this is what you feel like the market value for you should be, and you give examples of other jobs locally that pay that or close to that, and then you give reasons for why you are a desirable candidate, things maybe on your background or your resume or skills that you have that make you an exceptional person that they want in their group, and then oftentimes they will match you for that. Any opinions of nurse residency programs for new grads in the ICU who want to be CRNAs? I don't know what you mean. Are you asking me if I think nurse residency programs in the ICU are a good idea, or are you asking me if I know of any particular hospitals that have great nurse residency programs? The answer to both of those pretty much is I'm not sure. I don't know of any specific hospital that I would say I recommend their ICU nurse residency program. And do I think you need a nurse residency program? No, I think that's kind of like a newer invention that's not been around for that long. Even when I became a new grad nurse in the ICU in 2012, I don't remember that being a thing. Maybe some like bigger academic hospitals had started implementing that, but the majority of places I worked didn't have that. You were just trained as a new grad nurse in the ICU. The nurse residency, from the people I've spoken to, it's essentially you graduate, you pass boards, but before you're let loose totally on your own in the ICU, you do like a year of a residency and nurse residency where you're pretty much paid your normal salary as you would get paid, and you take care of patients as you would get paid. But sometimes they'll rotate you around to different ICUs or maybe even outside of the ICU and give you different types of experiences and all that, which I think is great. There's nothing wrong with that. I worked in a mixed ICU in a community hospital that did neuro, surgical, medical, and cardiovascular. So I got experience in all those different areas in one big unit. So yeah, it's whatever works for you. I think being able to work in a lot of different ICUs makes you very versatile and important for school later on. All right, next question. Can you tell us about your pup? Of course, yeah, Scout. He's 4 years old. He's a beagle, a lemon beagle. So he's got that special lemon beagle coloring. I'll insert a picture here for you guys. He's spunky. He's got a mind of his own, definitely very headstrong. Pet store people were warning me when I told them I was thinking of getting a beagle. They were like, hey, beagles, they're hard to train if it's your first dog to train. And I said, no, I'm sure it'll be fine. No, they are hard. They're very smart and very headstrong. So it's hard to kind of break them because they think they're in charge of you. So yeah, it's kind of funny because he kind of resembles my personality in a lot of ways. And my family says that, maybe he became like that because he was around me too long. But I honestly think I just picked a dog that matched my personality. All right, what are the pros and cons of going into nursing as a male? The obvious first con is that the general public assumes that nursing is a female field. And that's because historically it was. Women were the ones who were nurses hundreds of years ago, and it's not been until probably the last 50 or 60 years that it was even something that happened that a man went into the field. And I would say even in the 60s and 70s, maybe even into the 80s, it was very much stigmatized for a man to go into nursing, very odd and unusual. It was probably not until the 90s and 2000s that you saw more and more people going into it. And it was probably more men going into it then because the career kept opening up more and more and more, and it became more about healthcare in general and not just bedside nursing. And also the salary started rising because, back in the 70s and 60s and previous, nursing was not a field you got paid much money for. It was a very low-end paid field. Side note, probably because it was all women and they couldn't, they were mistreated and paid unfairly. A pro about it would be the fact that it is very well paid, that you get to do something with your hands that helps people, that improves people's lives day in and day out. When you go home after work that you've done something that was for someone else that maybe they couldn't have done for themselves probably. And that's mostly why I liked ICU nursing. I wasn't really interested in other types of nursing because I only wanted to take care of patients who I knew really critically needed me. The more adrenaline pumping, critical aspects of nursing where people are, living or dying based off things that you're doing for them, those are important, and I feel like a lot of men are drawn to that. And then of course there's always upward mobilization. There's, you get your master's degree and doctorate degree, you can go into CRNA school, you can go into be NP, you can work in business or administration. There's lots of upward mobilization in the nursing field. How did you maintain focus and energy while studying for hours on end in CRNA school? This is a good topic because a lot of you guys are in CRNA school or hoping to get into CRNA school, and that is a big problem, is maintaining this level of momentum throughout all 3 years of the program, because there's not really a stopping point. There's not a break throughout the 3 years. You're going to keep going and going, and you'll fatigue out because the level of momentum you have to keep up for that amount of time is just not possible to maintain for long. And so I would say the way I maintain momentum, one, was by taking little mini breaks. You study, you stop, and you give yourself a rest. You do something for an hour that you enjoy doing. If you don't have an hour, not every time you'll have a full hour to give yourself a break. Maybe it's 30 minutes, but whatever that time period is, you need to do something where you just disconnect, you unwind. If you do yoga, do yoga. If you run, go run. I usually found exercise to be my form because not only did it pump endorphins and help blood flow and help you think better, I could even record lectures, and while I'm listening to my lecture, I'm running, so I'm getting exercise done, I'm studying, I'm getting blood pumping, I'm doing endorphins, and I'm also doing something outside that's not just sitting at a desk studying. So you'll find ways to incorporate learning and studying and your personal life all into one thing. You'll find that you'll hang out with your friends from class, and when you're having fun and enjoying each other's presence, you're probably going to be talking about a topic. Maybe you're studying a little bit, maybe you're quizzing each other. That may sound really weird to you if you're not in CRNA school, but if you're in CRNA school, you will find ways to incorporate the ways you need to study and stay ahead into everything you do pretty much for 3 years. What is my least favorite thing about being a CRNA? I would probably say my least favorite thing is how early I have to get up. Surgeries, almost across the nation, surgeries start around 7 or 7:30 in the morning, which means I have to be there before then because you have to arrive in enough time to talk to your patient in pre-op, make sure your drugs are set up, make sure your airway supplies are set up, make sure your machine is good to go. All these things are done. So you're gonna need to get there earlier than that, which means you need to get up at home and get dressed and ready to go earlier than that. So it pretty much means the rest of my life I'm gonna be getting up at 5 or 5:30 in the morning, which I'm not the kind of person. I'm a morning person, but I'm like a wake up at 6:30 or 7 a.m. kind of guy, not a 5 a.m. kind of guy. Aside from GPA, what certifications and committees make you stand out to a CRNA program? Well, that kind of goes along with the other question, what did I do in my personal life to make myself stand out on the application? You want things that that are unique to you. You don't want just a whole bunch of shotgun effect of random things that you've done because you think it inflates your resume. Because the program directors are going to see that and they're going to look right through it. They're going to say this, they've seen it 100 times. It means you're uninteresting. It means that you're soulless in the sense of your application is soulless, like it has no true meaning to it because you've just done a bunch of random things that maybe you don't care at all about that you're doing just to inflate your CV. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for someone who's, if you're really big into music or something, they want to see that you play the piano and that you volunteer to do music for the homeless people at a local shelter or, something like that. Or you sing in the choir at your church and, you go on mission trips where do something in their choirs in the Dominican Republic or something like that. They want to see that you do things in your personal life that have a through line, that make some kind of meaning to you. And as for like certifications and stuff, please don't be one of those people who gets a 50 different random nursing certifications that they got in a month from taking some online class or something. That's not that impressive. CRNA school really looks at a whole bunch of random certifications and they're not really interested in that. They're looking for your CCRN, maybe your TNCC if you're a trauma ICU nurse. But beyond that, they're really not looking at any of these other certifications. They don't matter really. So don't waste your time and money getting a whole bunch of other random assortment of things. You'll notice that CRNA programs, the only certification they pretty much list that they request or would like is your CCRN on the application. Did you know someone who had a baby 1 to 5 years old and able to finish the program? Yes, definitely. There were multiple people in my class who had children. There were 3 or 4 people in my class who got pregnant or their wives got pregnant during the program. They had the baby and they had a newborn. Some of the women in class, they carried the baby to full term during class and doing clinical rotations, getting up at 4 in the morning, going into the hospital and being on their feet all day, 10 or 12 hours, providing anesthesia, grinding and doing the hard work of anesthesia rotations, studying all night, taking an exam, that next Monday. They did that for 9 months, and then they, pretty much maintained in clinicals until their water broke, and then they, gave birth, and a couple weeks later they're back on their feet again, doing it again with a newborn at home. So definitely people did it, people will do it, people do it all the time. There's a lot of things that you're capable of doing. It's going to be really hard, but you're capable of doing it if you're determined. Looking back, how would you have saved money for CRNA school? So I've said this before, so I'm not trying to beat around the bush. I saved like $64,000 before I went back to CRNA school, and I did that as a travel nurse. I think that is probably your top way of making money and saving it aside as a RN. You can make a lot more as a travel nurse than you do as a staff nurse, and you can also travel around, see the world a little bit. I think it's a win-win situation. So yeah, that's what I did. That's what I would recommend you to do, and that's exactly what I would do again if I was in that situation. Well, all right, YouTube family, that was everything. We got to our questions, and I want to hear from you guys down below. If you agree with me on all these things, or if there's something you disagree with me on, let me know down below. And also, if you're interested in getting into CRNA school and you want the 26-page study guide, you want to do a mock interview with me, you're looking for those monthly exclusive behind-the-scenes videos that I make, unedited, that is over in the memberships tab. So go over there to the memberships, join up. There's multiple different layers of membership. So if you just need some light, the basic study guide thing, you can do that. If you want the more intensive one-on-one mock interviews with me, you can do that too. So there's memberships for everybody over there. Make sure and smash that like button. My God, what are you doing at this point if you've not hit that like button already? That's for the YouTube algorithm, guys. If you don't hit the like button, YouTube doesn't suggest the video to other people. So please hit the like button for me. Hit the subscribe button. Keep coming back, because every Monday I post another video about something related to anesthesia or lifestyle or something like that. So I think that if you like this content, subscribe. We'll have more next week too. And that is Bolt out.